I'm David Scandura.
I'm Justice Burkett.
And today we're here to find out, is Barton Fink the greatest movie ever made?
Look upon me! I'll show you the life of the mind!
Welcome to the greatest movie ever made, the show where we watch a movie and tell you if it's the greatest movie ever made.
Where's my honey?
Oh, I was gonna go with, I will destroy you!
Lots of good yelled lines in this movie. There is, of course, I'll show you the life of the mind!
Yeah, very loud, grunting, sweaty guy movie.
Yes, big vomit movie, big piss movie.
I would argue that the walls in the hotel are leaking cum.
They are, okay, we're starting with this. I planned to mention this at some point. We can just hit it right off the top. These walls are jizzing. They are jizz-covered walls. It is straight splooge. Also, the pus that's coming out of John Goodman's ear is very cummy as well. It is pus, but it is also
it's quite cummy. It's not to get too graphic, but maybe like it's sometimes you're taking a shit and there's a lot of straining going on.
Right, yeah.
And then like a little bit of cum leaks out of your penis.
I don't know that's ever happened to me.
Really?
I don't know that I have ever shat so hard that I came.
You don't like. It's not like you're having an orgasm.
Right? No,
it's just like
I don't know
the
that
dregs.
I don't know that this has ever happened to me.
Oh, okay.
To get very disgusting though, since we're already here, I have had the thing happen where like post ejaculation, like there is an ejaculation like pretty near in the rear view, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to take a piss, and before the piss comes out, you just like come a little bit more, and again, not an orgasm, but just more cum comes out.
Yeah,
then you start peeing.
You're just kind of cleaning the drain.
Yes, that has happened to me.
Yeah,
but I don't think it has ever happened to me with number two. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm still young, so.
Hey. Why? This is what you listen to us for. Deep,
to be fair,
personable, relatable discussions.
We're not off base, I think, starting the episode this way, because this movie is gross. Like, I do think Barton Fink is kind of gross. It's a gross movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of putrid, and, the hotel is kind of like piss and vomit tinted.
Right, it's very brown and yellow.
And beneath the wallpaper that's peeling off, beneath the cummy wallpaper that's peeling off, the wall is kind of like weird and like fleshy and membranous.
Yeah, kind of Cronenbergian.
Yes. This is maybe the Coen's grossest movie. It's definitely the grossest Coen's movie that I've seen.
Yeah.
Movie
that is so thoroughly entertaining or compelling that while you're watching it, it's the only thing that matters in your gross, disgusting, hot hotel room where the walls leak cum.
Yes.
And you're regularly accosted by a giant, sweaty John Goodman. I'm David Scandura, joined as always by my co-host Justice Burkett.
That's right. We are here not in a hotel that is probably hell, but the Pod Studio once again to talk about our very first Coen Brothers movie that we're ever talking about on the podcast.
Yeah. Long time coming to talk about a Coen film. I think that's what you mentioned last week.
Yeah, I think it's just one that we hadn't gotten around to yet. We're more than 100 episodes into the history of this show. We both have some relationship with these filmmakers, as most of the American movie-going public does. I feel like the Coens are like, in some ways, maybe not as much as like Christopher Nolan, who I would say maybe fills this slot even more. But the Coens are sort of like contenders for like the people's auteur in a certain way, I would say, because their movies are very financially successful a lot of the time and get a lot of attention from the general public, right? Anytime, maybe less with their solo careers now that they've kind of split up, but when they were doing stuff together, it was always kind of like big news when a new Coen Brothers movie would come out. And like most people have seen at least a couple of their films, right? But they are at the same time very arty, very thinky filmmakers. I would say like them and like maybe Christopher Nolan and maybe like a Wes Anderson kind of fill that spot of like, these are like very popular filmmakers who make popular films that appeal to a large audience, but are also sort of like, they sort of skew intellectual. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I would mostly agree with that. I kind of started watching the Coens when I was younger and getting into film around the same time as I was getting into Quentin Tarantino and directors who like often dealt in genre but kind of had their own spin on it.
Yeah.
And I think the Coens can get intellectual and often do, but they're just as often like kind of silly and irreverent.
Yes.
And there's a great line in this movie that I think sort of sums up the dichotomy of art, or a great exchange in this movie that kind of sums up the dichotomy of art and the dichotomy of the creative process and where certain people come from. When Barton Fink is talking to I just watched the movie, never got the author's name. The alcoholic author
Yes,
that
the
he
guy who's-
idolizes.
Right, the guy who's William Faulkner.
Yeah,
But he's
yeah.
not William Faulkner.
Where Barton Fink talks about how like he feels like art comes from pain and suffering, and the author is like, "Oh hell, I just like to make stuff up."
Yeah, right, yes.
That's kind of
Yes.
That's almost like a perfect summary of the Coens' creative process.
Yes, and like when you like watch interviews with them and stuff, they talk much more like, the character's name is Mayhew. I just looked it up. The William Faulkner stand-in. They talk a lot more like that than they talk like Barton Fink in interviews, where like, you know, people will kind of present them with the critical analysis that has been done on their most recent film or whatever, and they'll be like, yeah, I don't know, we thought it was funny if like, what if there was like a neurotic guy like and you know, they're like, oh, you know, here's all the deconstruction, and like, oh, were these allusions to like Dante's Inferno and like shit, like was that intentional? And they're like, I don't know, we just thought it would be silly if like, what if this guy was really weird? Like and I kind of think that that's I do think that is like coming from a genuine place with them to some extent. And then I also think that it is the thing, like Lynch was like this too, where it's like there was a lot of depth to his filmmaking, but he didn't want to talk about it because he had already had the conversation with you in the movie.
Right.
Right? And I feel like the Coens are kind of taking a similar approach where they're like, I don't fucking know, man, watch the movie we made.
Yeah, and I know this movie in particular, they've admitted that like they don't really have a central theme in mind, and some of the symbols have intentional meaning, but also there's other stuff that they just kind of put in there because they were interested in it.
Yes.
And left it open to interpretation.
Yes, we will talk about this more, but I think one of the main things this movie is doing that I think is so interesting and fun and kind of is indicative of that irreverent, kind of goofy, you know, prankster angle that the Coens have, is that it is a movie that encourages you to like over-interpret it while poking fun at the idea of over-interpreting art. Like, I kind of think that that's a big thing this movie is doing, is being like, over-analyzing this shit is stupid, but we've also constructed a movie that it is almost impossible not to overanalyze.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And when I say like irreverent, I don't necessarily mean there's like not a crassness to them. They're not like necessarily being pranksters, but they're also the kind of guys who like, you watch Fargo or you watch Big Lebowski and stuff like, you know, the Mike Nagahita scene, if I'm saying that. I can't remember the character.
Mike Yanagita.
Yeah. That scene just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yes.
But it's also like just as important and relevant to the type of movie that they're making as anything that is more plot focused in Fargo.
Yes.
And then Big Lebowski is kind of like that pushed to the nth degree.
It's sort of a whole movie of scenes like that.
Right. It's just stuff happening.
Yes.
Very loosely connected, and you're sort of expecting a bigger plot to unfold at the end, but it doesn't.
Right. Yes.
Which is maybe one of the things about the Coens that makes their movies interesting to me, also occasionally like difficult to parse, and I tend to have different reactions as I see them over time. I haven't seen all of their movies, but like I know that when I was getting into the Coens, I saw stuff like Big Lebowski for the first time and was kind of disappointed by the ambiguity and the kind of lazy nature of the plot.
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't until I had subsequent viewings of it that I came to appreciate it. And that goes for other stuff like No Country for Old Men, which is, of course, more, it has the Cormac McCarthy book as a something to, they are adapting that story, so the ambiguity is kind of inherent to the McCarthy book as well.
Right. Yeah.
But that's happened like with a few of their movies, and I also think that's true of Barton Fink, where there's an element of ambiguity to this movie that kind of surprised me, and I didn't entirely expect, which, again, is another thing about the Coens, where, like, I feel like they're very hard to predict what they'll do next, because there's definitely genres that they like. They like neo-noir, they like westerns.
Right. They like a crime movie.
They function in that lane, but they're often doing their own spin on things, and they can do something that's completely outside of genre or multi-genre, and they have a very diverse filmography, but also, like, a Coen Brothers movie is kind of unmistakable.
Yes.
It has its own language, its own tone, its own rhythm. My dad, who I've maybe criticized a little too heavily on this podcast in the past for kind of being a Luddite when it comes to
when it comes to film,
kind of certain films.
Right, he is, as Barton Fink would condescendingly describe it, the common man. Right?
My dad, when we were on vacation, we were flying back, and he was sitting in a different seat than me. So afterwards, I asked him if he watched anything. And he was like, yeah, I watched something that was HBO, and it was like all these teenagers having sex, and then at one point this girl turns into like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. I was like, Dad, did you watch Euphoria? Did you just casually drop into season 3 of Euphoria? And I was like, what the fuck? Why would you do that?
What compelled you to do this?
What is the series of decisions that led you to just decide to watch season 3 of Euphoria on the plane?
I do sort of envy, sorry, I know this is a sidebar, but I do sort of envy the lack of decision paralysis that allows someone to do that. Like, I get so caught up on, like, what am I gonna watch, that sometimes it'll take me an hour to pick something.
Yeah.
I sort of admire people like your dad who can just be like, yeah, I don't know, I'll just watch this fucking shit. Like,
I think it's a dad thing.
Yeah.
I think dad. Yeah. I mean, but he's not quite. I don't think he's the kind of guy who's going to sit down and watch like Hunt for Red October if it comes on AMC or anything like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Even my dad knows who the Coen brothers are, and knows their style well enough that he's watched other things to recommend to me and be like, it's kind of like a Coen brothers movie. Like, it reminds me of a Coen brothers movie.
Yeah.
And he's often like kind of right with his recommendations in some ways.
Like you were saying, their style's pretty like indelible. Like, they definitely have there's like a signature thing that is sort of hard to put your pin on. Like there's some stuff that you can point to where it's like they stack the casts with character actors. They have kind of weird idiosyncratic dialogue.
They have, recurring collaborators.
Roger Deakins shoots a lot of their movies.
Skip Leafsay does a lot of their sound.
Yes.
T-Bone Burnett does their music a lot of times. So yeah.
Yeah, and they have their stable of actors that they pull from. But like, aside from any of those like individual things, there is just kind of like a Coen brothers feeling. That, I mean, it's the Barton Fink feeling. They say it in this movie. It's sort of parodying that as an idea as well, which I like. But it is the thing in their movies where it's like, it's sort of the vibe that is what makes a Coen Brothers movie is greater than the sum of any of those individual elements. They all sort of coalesce into something where you're like, the effect that it has on me a lot of the times with their movies is I find myself when I'm watching a Coen Brothers movie, especially one that I haven't seen before, it is very easy for me to pay very close attention that's like sort of the impact that their whole like stylistic thing has on me. Is I'm like, I don't find it challenging to be like on the edge of my seat with my eyes glued to the screen. And more than just like this is a very like entertaining movie that I'm like very immersed in, like watching their movies very closely for like recurring motifs and stuff, it feels very easy and natural. Like it feels like a thing where I don't have to consciously think like, I'm going to watch the movie, I'm going to put on my film analysis hat to watch this movie. It just kind of like forces you into that lane.
They do it in a way that feels like textbook, like how to pay, set up things, how to pay things off, how to introduce recurring motifs into your work, like the woman on the painting of the woman on the beach,
which almost feels like a parody of a film motif.
Yeah.
Like,
and the way it comes back at the end, it's sort of like, oh yeah, of course they would do that,
right?
But you don't necessarily see it coming.
Yes.
They kind of do it sort of elegantly.
Yeah,
but it's also like very obvious too.
Yes, and simultaneously you can read all kinds of meaning into that image of the beautiful woman on the beach, and it also works as a statement about how the motif doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
like that you can read the ending of the movie either way and be like, oh, this image is endowed with so much meaning, and also it doesn't mean anything at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't asked you how you're doing, but we are pretty deep in discussion already.
Yes, we're also on a clock for this one. Both of us have things to get to, like, not in, like, a ton of time. So it's probably going to be a shorter episode, so we'll keep the check-in short. I'm doing okay. I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
I feel like I am on, like, a goated film run. This isn't necessarily a media recommendation because it's just big names, one of which is the movie we're talking about today. But I watched Zodiac, Heat, and then Barton Fink, and I'm just like, man, movies are so fucking good. the triumvirate of those three films on like consecutive days basically has just made me be like, wow, movies, man.
Yeah.
3 excellent films. But yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm not great.
Yeah,
sort of up and down, and finding that I'm not doing the best at time management. It's not like time management, it's also it's more of not making the most of my time off. I feel like.
Right.
I don't know.
Like you feel like you should be using that time to like do something more rewarding or whatever.
Yeah. And the time management is also part of it, but it's also just like, I don't feel like I've taken on too many things, but yet I still feel like I'm going to have to make sacrifices in the near future, and I'm not sure how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And just in general, today was I was just in a fucking weird mood. And then I whacked this movie on 2 hours before I came over here.
Yes, and I did text you that watching Barton Fink while you're in a weird mood already surely can only do good things to your brain. This is definitely a movie.
I will say, I feel better than I did this morning.
That's good. That's
so
good.
Like
maybe it did help.
It helped a bit.
Yeah, to watch a guy who's just going through worse shit than you.
As far as media recommendations, I don't know. Like, I would recommend playing Gears of War 3 while listening to Bolt Thrower, because that's what I've been doing.
Hell yeah.
Someone posted that on like a Bolt Thrower meme where it was like, Bolt Thrower helped me master insane difficulty on Gears of War 3. And I happened to have that game, and I was like, oh, fucking, let's chainsaw some aliens.
That makes a lot of sense, because Gears of War is sort of a little bit inspired by Warhammer 40K.
Which didn't occur to me until I played it now. I was like, oh, this is kind of, I'm not super familiar with 40K either, but like, I was like, this is kind of dollar store 40K in that it's big guys with big guns shooting big aliens.
They're basically Space Marines, and they do have, the chainsaw assault rifles, which are also a thing in Warhammer 40K. And of course, Bolt Thrower, heavily inspired by Warhammer 40K.
Right.
Yeah.
But fucking throw on those once loyal and tear up some locust on gridlock.
I love, not to make this into a Bolt Thrower podcast when we're on limited time to talk about Barton Fink, but I love that there is a riff that is just the Bolt Thrower riff, and they just use it on like a half of their songs. Like they just like lead into and lead out of the song with the same riff.
Yeah, it's
unlike,
the riff from Cenotaph.
Yes.
So they bring it back on. I mean, they bring it back on the Kill Chain.
It's on the Kill Chain. It's on a couple other songs.
Yeah, they do it on like once on every album.
Yeah. I just love
it's not even like that good of a riff.
No.
I mean, it's not that creative. It's just like and they just do that, but I'm still just like, fuck yeah, guys.
It's so cool anytime
Hell
they
yeah,
just
belt thrower.
bust out the riff and it's like, hey man, those guys really know how to play those 5 notes.
Back to Barton Fink.
Yes, back to Barton Fink. Barton Funk. I don't know, is there anything else?
You're a sick fuck, Fink. That's the best line in the movie.
Yes, I love that.
Every Coen Brothers movie has like a line that is like could be the greatest line written in all of cinema.
Yes, there's a lot of excellent ones in this one.
I think you're a sick fuck, Fink might be this movie's.
I love that whole exchange too, because they're talking about Madman Munt, and him and Barton Fink being partners or whatever, and they're like, "Do you get off on this? Is this a sex thing for you?" And Barton Fink goes, "Sex? He's a man. We wrestled." It's very funny. Yeah. This movie has a lot of all-time Coen Brothers quotes. I feel like, anytime fucking Michael Lerner as the studio exec guy is just like going off, like he in every scene that he's in, he basically has like a 1.5-page monologue that he delivers at lightning speed. Which is awesome. Right. Yeah, and I love
he gets through that monologue in like 30 seconds without taking a breath.
Yeah. I love what he's talking about. He's like, "I'm from New York. Well, Minsk, if you want to go all the way back, which we won't." It's such a good line delivery. Like he is like, there are so many peaks and valleys in his like speech pattern. It's just like excellent. Like that like super high speed banter shit that like sometimes pops up in Coen Brothers movies, although sometimes their dialogue is also kind of like sparse and kind of like slow paced. I feel like they kind of do both things.
They can dial things up and also play things a little bit more subtle, especially with comedy. Those scenes with a studio exec or like Tony Shalhoub as well, who has a similar fast talking style. That's the kind of stuff that reminds me of like Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
Where it's just like the Coens on 11.
Right.
And then some of the other moments in this movie that take things a little bit slower are also funny.
Yeah.
But maybe kind of representative of some of their later films, like some of the stuff in Big Lebowski, which is kind of more subtly funny.
Yeah. Or even No Country for Old Men, which is probably their most like serious toned film that I've seen, at least, and it probably is their most like.
Yeah, I think so.
But that movie is even also funny, and sometimes there is kind of like the slow burn humor in that movie.
I got
too.
the cancer.
Yes. You married into it.
I think it's partially that movie realizes that people from Texas are just funny.
Yeah.
It's just weird fucks from Texas.
Right. Well, and one of the biggest tricks in the Coen bag is, look at this weird looking person. Isn't it silly to watch them do shit?
Oh, that's all over Barton Fink.
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy, by the way, because like most Coen Brothers films, this movie is packed full of character actors doing great work. It is wild that Tony Shalhoub somehow ends up looking like the handsomest alpha Chad in this movie, because it's like you put him in a movie with like the fucking guy with Michael Lerner, with the guy who's playing his like lackey, who's also another Coen Brothers guy. Is it John Polito, I think is his name?
I think so, yeah.
And then Turturro and Goodman and Buscemi are filling out the edges of this thing. And then like Tony Shalhoub shows up. And normally Tony Shalhoub is kind of like a funny looking Muppety guy and stuff. And I was like, watching this movie, I was like, Shalhoub seems like a jock. by comparison in this movie, because you have so many like weird little freaks.
Yeah. And Buscemi's young in this. And like compared to, how he looks later on, this is a young spring chicken Buscemi. This is Buscemi's hot era, and he still looks like a bug-eyed weirdo.
Yes.
God bless him.
Yes. There's the great anecdote from Fargo where Buscemi read the script and he like got to the part where they're calling his character funny looking, and he called the Coens and he was like, "Do you want me to do anything for this? Are we going to be putting prosthetics on me?" Like as a joke, cuz he's aware, but I just think it's so funny that Buscemi was like, "Hey, so, what do we need to do? How many hours in the makeup chair is it going to be for me to sell funny looking?" He's little baby Buscemi in this though.
Yeah.
I like, so like, this is probably just as good a time as any to talk about Buscemi in general. I love this character. I love
Chet's
his
the
whole
best.
Chet is great. I love that he emerges from a trapdoor when Barton Fink shows up at the hotel in LA, right? Because like Barton Fink has his big Broadway show. And they send him off to Hollywood to start screenwriting, because he's on the path to success, and he checks into this shitty hotel, and it's like the lobby is empty. Like a lot of moments in this movie, this is like a horror movie setup where it's like the protagonist wanders into this empty, like decrepit Art Deco hotel lobby that's like so ominous. And it's like dead silent. And then a trapdoor behind the reception desk opens, and Steve Buscemi wanders up from the depths of hell where he has been shining shoes. It's so funny. It's just like such a great character entrance. And then he's like very pleasant. Like he's like the sweetest, like most helpful. But I also love that
he has a few screws loose too.
Yeah.
I love that he introduces himself twice in the span of 30 seconds.
Yes, and
he's like, "I'm Chet, blah 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 blah. By the way, I'm Chet."
And then the third beat of that joke is he hands Turturro the paper that just says Chet in all caps with an exclamation point, which is such a funny visual gag. I laughed really hard when he just passed him the paper and all it said is Chet. Yeah, and he's like talking hotel lingo at him. He's like, "Are you a trans or a res?" And Turturro's like, "I don't know what that means. Like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, transient or resident. Like, how long are you staying or whatever?" But yeah, there's just like a little bit. He's like over communicating to a point where it's confusing, which is funny. I love him in this movie. I think he's so great.
I also like the I don't know, suicidally depressed elevator clerk.
Right.
Just sitting on his stool, kind of staring into the middle distance.
So you said that the "you're a sick fuck Fink" is the all-timer Coen line in this movie. I would like to make a case for the exchange that Barton Fink has with the elevator guy towards the end, where he's like, "You ever read the Bible, Pete?" or whatever the guy's name is, and he's like, "Not sure. I've heard of it though."
Yeah, because first he's like, "You ever read the Bible?" He's like, "You mean the Holy Bible?"
Oh, yeah, Holy Bible.
Like, what other Bible?
Right. Yes, the clarification. You're so right. That's
really good.
I missed Holy Bible. And he's like, "Yeah, that's the one." Yeah. That exchange really slayed me, especially because it comes at a point in the movie where things have been like so stressful and weird, and then suddenly you get like this like absurd exchange that just like totally breaks the ice, which I feel like the Coens are so great at that too.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like they've been like tightening the screws, and then they're just like, and here's like a little silly thing.
Yeah, let's pump the brakes for a second.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that guy. Yeah, so I don't know, Barton Fink, he's trapped in a hotel. The hotel is maybe hell, which is sort of a thing. I mean, like, they put a finer point on it towards the end.
When the hallway is on fire.
Yes, when it bursts into flames, and John Goodman is maybe literally the devil, perhaps.
I rented the DVD from the library.
Yeah.
It does that thing that DVD menus used to do, where it has scenes from the movie to transition between parts of the menu.
Yeah.
So like it plays a little thing after you hit play on the menu and the movie starts. There's like it does the scenes from the wrestling movie.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
with they hit the slate and they
Yes.
yell action and then the movie
I
starts.
will destroy him.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
but before that, the intro to the main menu is John Goodman running down a burning hotel hallway, screaming his head off with a shotgun.
Yes. That's
so
a
that
spoiler.
maybe gave me some thoughts about the where we were going with the Charlie Meadows character.
See, that's unfortunate that the DVD menu spoiled that for you, because going into this movie completely blind, I had no fucking idea where this was going, and it, like you were saying, the Coens are good at swerving on you.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we were talking about that earlier, a thing that I forgot to say is like, the thing that is interesting about their swerves is they're not like twist directors like Shyamalan, right? It's not like you're watching a Coen Brothers movie and you're like, what's the twist gonna be? Because it's not like plot twists. It's more just like, you just can't predict what the next thing is.
Yeah, you thought one thing was happening, but it was actually this other thing.
Yes.
You know, and they don't really lead you into it. It's sort of just like your own expectations. Like, again, especially with No Country, where No Country is obviously pulling on Cormac McCarthy's book. But you have genre expectations going into No Country for Old Men that the movie subverts the entire time.
Right.
And then you get to the stuff in the third act kind of expecting the big final confrontation.
Yeah.
Even though the movie has been subverting expectations and doing things differently the entire time.
Yeah.
And then the note that the movie leaves you on is like, okay, that wasn't where I was expecting this to go.
Right.
But I wouldn't they don't do the rug pulls, you know? They're not, like you said, like doing big twists.
Yeah. The one that I always think about that I feel like is a really good example of this thing that we're talking about is the moment in Fargo where you see that William H. Macy's wife has just been killed off screen.
Mm-hmm.
By Peter Stormare. Like Buscemi just shows back up to the cabin and she's just like lying there dead. And he's like, what happened? And he was like, she wouldn't stop screaming. And like, that's it. And it's like, it happens so late in the movie. And you're like, wait, what? Like, number one, she's dead? Like, I did not think that was even a thing that was on the table in this movie, really. I thought she was gonna like stick around. And then also, it happened off screen. Like, we didn't even see this. And I feel like there's so many of those moments in this movie too, where like a thing will happen and you'll be like, wait, sorry, what the fuck? And like a lot of those are centered around John Goodman's character, who is one of the like hardest to predict elements in this entire movie, unless I guess you have a DVD menu spoil it for you. But like when he first, so like the character introduction of Charlie Meadows, John Goodman's character, is all like a mini. It's one of those moments in miniature form, because there is insane laughter, like maniacal cackling, happening next door to Barton Fink's room where he's trying to write. And he calls down to Chet and is like, hey, someone next door is being really noisy. And then you hear the call go to the next room and you hear Goodman being like pissed off. And he's like, who the fuck did a noise complaint? Which, by the way, Chet, you can't be ratting people out when they're calling in noise complaints. Although it also seems like they're the only two people in the hotel. But then, so like Goodman seems enraged and like comes and pounds on Barton Fink's door. And then he opens the door and this guy is immediately like so sweet and nice. And it's very disarming because you expect him to enter the movie as an angry monster.
He does start like with this really intense look on his face.
Yes.
And then it eventually kind of breaks away.
Yeah, pretty much as soon as they start talking,
but
he starts cooling down.
Right, but there's still this underlying tension throughout that scene and then the rest of the scenes that they have together.
He is, right. He's always a little sinister, which is the thing that makes this performance really very, very interesting. Like, I think this is a phenomenal performance by John Goodman, because you cannot get a read on him at all in like the first like 4 scenes that he's in. where you're just like, like this guy seems nice. He almost is giving like John Candy in
Yes.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yes,
right?
I was thinking that myself.
Yes. And it's like it is like John Candy in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, except there's like a hint of darkness where you're like, I want to like this guy. Everything about this guy is telling me to like him. And yet I really can't trust this guy fully. Like there is something off about him, you know? And like some of it is like the ear pus.
The man can't help it. He has an ear infection.
He has an ear infection. I like when he's like, I went to the doctor and I told him, he looked at it and he was like, seems like you got an ear infection. And like, yeah, I told you I had an ear infection. That's why I'm at the fucking doctor. It's just funny.
Yeah.
I like you. I like hearing John Goodman.
I like how sweaty he is.
The American healthcare system. Yeah. His fucking pit stains are great.
Yeah, and he's always in like a white button-down shirt that's very sweaty and very stained.
Yeah,
very
he's
thin.
got suspenders on, and there's like the sweat around where the suspenders are, which is great too. Nice little detail. Yeah, he's just like wet in this movie. But yeah, like he is so like inscrutable and weird, but also likable. And I feel like that's kind of what Turturro's playing too in the scenes with him, is like Barton Fink likes Charlie. He's like, oh yeah, like I like this guy, but he's also sort of weirded out by him. And like the feeling sort of seems to be mutual, at least initially, where it also seems like Charlie is like, I want to like this guy, but he's also like talking over me, like I can't get like a word in edgewise.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the movie, when Charlie / Carl has his monologue to him as the hotel's burning, and he's angry. He's angry that he, he's like, you come into my home and you tell me I'm making noise.
Yeah,
and he's also like, you never listen.
Yes,
that totally makes sense. Like that, you feel that tension and that conflict between those characters in all those scenes. Because it's pretty clear once things get going with these characters what their relationship is and how they view each other. At very least, how Turturro views Goodman.
Yeah.
Because Turturro, we'll talk about Barton Fink himself. There's a lot to unpack with this character.
Yes.
But the main thing with his relationship with John Goodman is, for being a writer who claims to have the common people's interests at heart,
yes,
and is invested in their stories, doesn't pay a goddamn second of attention to what John Goodman has to say.
Yes.
And is so focused on saying, talking over him.
Yes, he's like waxing
interrupting
poetic
him
about, which is it was a funny moment for me to interrupt you.
Yeah. I was also struggling to find the words, but yeah.
But he's like waxing poetic about like, oh, what we really need are stories about common people like you. And Goodman's like, well, I could tell you some stories if you want. And he's like, well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You could tell me some stories, and your stories are the ones I want to tell. And he just like keeps going off. Barton Fink, real piece of work, this guy.
Yes. You brought up David Lynch a little while ago. You just said his name.
Yeah.
Big Eraserhead vibes from this dude.
Well, yeah, that's the hair.
It's the hair, and part of it, the movie is just like, hey, look at this weird guy, and look at him react to things around him.
I will say the hair and the glasses, pretty goated combo. Real iconic look immediately.
I like that his mouth is always hanging open.
Yes.
Seemingly.
Also, not for nothing, Turturro looks crazy in this movie with the hair and the glasses and everything, and his dumb open fish mouth through half the movie. He's also kind of hot in this.
I was trying to figure that out,
which is weird. It's weird that you're like, this guy is like a little weird freak who kind of sucks. And then like when he's wearing he's got those ridiculous pajamas that's like a tank top with buttons down the front that is also like a onesie with shorts. You know what I'm talking about? He's wearing that, and I was looking at his arms, and I was like, I don't know, he's like fit.
Yeah, it's like it's young John Turturro.
Yeah.
And Turturro's never necessarily been like traditionally attractive.
He's not a hunk. Yeah.
But there's the autistic riz of the character.
He does get laid.
In
the movie.
He pulls a smoky, husky voiced femme fatale.
Yeah. Although, like, her standards are demonstrated to not be like world class, because she's got fucking the Faulkner stand-in guy who seems to drink, puke, and yell, and that's basically all. That's what his life has been reduced to. That's what the Hollywood system has ground him into.
Don't judge her for her choices.
That's fair. I'm pulling a Barton Fink because he's doing that.
Yeah.
He's like talking down to her and being like, oh, why do you put up with that shit? And she's like, our situation's more complicated than you realize.
Yeah, he's sort of a weaselly, squirreling, why I oughta kind of character who's he's an incel, sort of.
Barton Fink,
incel.
Yeah, although again, he does fuck.
He does fuck
Canonically,
her.
Barton Fink fucks.
And
once.
Yeah. I can't. He fucks her to death, really.
I think the implication is that Carl Muntz had a hand in her death. I don't think the
you don't think the murder weapon was Barton Fink's massive cock?
No, I don't think that he had a fucking sword dildo like in Seven that he fucked her to death with.
Just 14 inches of man meat getting up in those guts.
And I fucked her.
I think I wonder if his pubes are just like his hair.
Oh, almost certainly, because his hair is already quite pube-like, which I don't believe it's anti-Semitic to say, because the movie does pointedly make jokes about his hair.
Yeah. What a Jewy movie.
It is, and we're not able to speak on this comprehensively as a couple of goys, but it is quite Jewy.
The Coens are Jewish.
Yes.
And it seems like every once in a while they gotta just dig deep into that Jewish guilt.
Yes, into a well of...
And the Jewishness.
Yes, a bottomless well...
of their experience.
Of self-hatred, which, it seems to be part of the cultural and artistic output of American Jewish people.
Yeah.
That a lot of the time you're just plumbing the depths of self-doubt and self-hatred and making fantastic and very relatable, even to non-Jews, works of art about it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, sometimes it just boils down to putting a weird-looking guy in glasses and making him a pathetic, spineless little worm.
Yeah.
Who also happens to be Jewish.
Yeah,
Although,
he's a bit of a nebbish.
There's an interesting thing in this movie because the other studio executives and the Hollywood characters are very Jewish coded as well.
Yes. I love that Michael Lerner keeps using the K slur.
Right.
And he's Jewish. Like,
that's what I wanted. Like, that's the thing I was dialing down to is, like, this is not really something that I can discuss at great length or really relate to or unpack, but it is interesting that there is Jewish on Jewish racially motivated hatred in this movie.
Right. It's almost like the scenes with Michael Lerner specifically, but also the ones with Tony Shalhoub. It seems like the Hollywood guys are almost saying to Barton Fink, like, you're the wrong kind of Jew.
Right.
Right? Like, you're not a Hollywood Jew, you're a Broadway Jew. And, like, we don't respect you because you think you're better than us, right? Because you're, like, all like, intellectual and shit. Whereas, like, out here, the game is not the art, the game is the money. And, like, you need to fucking get with the program or get lost.
Yeah, I mean, it's
basically.
also like a class thing.
Totally.
How it's like, they, you're not one of us, you're different than us.
Yeah.
It's a way to degrade him and make Barton Fink feel lower and remind him of his place in the Hollywood system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which doesn't really work because one of the things with Barton Fink is that he wants to be lower because he thinks that, like, suffering for art is necessary and noble,
Right.
and he thinks that it makes him better than them, right? Like, one of the things with Barton Fink's character, one of the reasons that he's not just like a likable guy, like one of his character flaws is that he is cosplaying being poor. The guy is getting paid $2,000 a week in 1941 money. So like ungodly amounts of money if you adjust for inflation. I'm sure that's an insane amount, right? And yet he's choosing to live in this seedy hotel where the wallpaper is sweating off the walls because he thinks that this is like what makes him better than like Michael Lerner and Tony Shalhoub, is that he is willing to pretend to be poor because he thinks it's like more profound, right? And it's like that is as much bullshit as Michael Lerner wearing the fake U.S. Army uniform at the end of the movie. Like, both of them are pretending because they're pretending to be someone that they're not out of like ego, right? And I think what the movie ends up saying is kind of like one of those is not better than the other. Both of these are bad.
Right. And they're also both exploiting and profiting off of people lower than them while sort of praising the nobility of their struggle.
Yes, and notably, like what Michael Lerner, as the studio exec guy, is doing to Barton Fink is like exactly the same thing that Barton Fink is doing to Charlie. In that, like in the meeting, I think in the first meeting with Michael Lerner, he is basically like, "Oh, I get it. You're an artist." And I understand artists. Artists are like this, right? And it's like, as opposed to allowing Barton Fink to speak for himself, he is like projecting the identity that he wants Barton Fink to perform onto him in the exact same way that Barton Fink is doing to Charlie. Yeah. And so there's all that stuff going on with him.
Mm-hmm.
I also think he's just like sexually frustrated.
Oh, yeah.
There's like an element of that. I think that's kind of partially what the cummy wallpaper is about. Like, he is just in a room that is oozing like jizz because I think he's like bottled up and frustrated. There's the scene where he asks out the Faulkner guy's secretary / mistress, and like he has said like 8 words to this woman, and then he's like, "Do you want to go out sometime?"
Yeah, I do think there is sexual frustration going on with him, and part of it is like being cooped up in a room alone, going insane.
Right.
I feel like the mind will, especially the mind of a male,
Right.
will wander to dark places.
Right, you're gonna end up staring at the back of a painting, or at the painting of a back of a woman,
and just jerking off to
yeah,
him.
yeah,
Just
right.
pounding hog.
if there was a scene where Barton Fink, like it's like the lighthouse, where he is like looking at the fucking picture on the wall and just beating off.
He's just hunched over on the floor with the picture on the floor, just coming on the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe your buddy comes over and you guys wrestle.
Now that I'm thinking about it, this movie is not unlike The Lighthouse. The dynamic between
Sure.
Pattinson and Dafoe is not too dissimilar.
Yeah.
Because it is sort of also like a guy who maybe thinks that he's like smarter and better than another guy, and they're like sort of in close proximity in kind of a purgatory-like scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of them turns into a supernatural demon at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
What a good ass movie.
They do homoerotically
They
wrestle.
do homoerotically wrestle.
Yes.
And I'm disappointed they didn't kiss.
Yeah.
I wanted them to kiss.
Yeah, they did not kiss.
But I love that the movie kind of brings that up and like just gives you a little seasoning of like homoerotic tension and kind of moves on from it.
Yes, yeah.
But it's like it's still there. It's
Yes.
still something that you can interpret and read into in this movie.
Yeah. Well, and the sort of like dependency that Barton Fink ends up like forming with Charlie there is like sort of a romantic tinge to it. Like when Charlie says that he has to leave to go sell insurance policies in New York, and Barton is like, "You're leaving?"
Mm-hmm.
Like so crushed, because he's like, "This is the only," and he says it like, "You're the only person I know here. Like you're the only friend I've made in Los Angeles." And then like after it is revealed that Charlie is serial killer Carl Mundt, I like that Barton Fink kind of keeps defending him. Like in the scene with the cops, they're like, yeah, he's like, he like kills people and cuts off their heads. And they're like, did he say anything to you? And his response is like, he said he likes whatever the actor is, right? And it's just so funny because he's just remembering like little personality details. He's remembering like their little genuine moments of connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it is totally like not sinking in for him that this guy is like a fucking serial murderer.
Yeah, and he doesn't even think about the mysterious package that he left with him.
Right.
Doesn't even bother to bring
vaguely
that up.
Head-sized box that
Right.
he's been given.
Love those cops, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
Those cops rule.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one of them has an Italian last name and the other one has a German last name. Because we're in the 40s, and it's like, is that supposed to mean something? I don't know. It just kind of seems like a funny joke. That one of them is like Mussolini last name.
What is it? Yeah, it's Detective Deutsch
Yes.
and Detective Mastroiannotti.
Right. Like, that's a joke about...
Robert, that was played by Richard Portnow.
Oh, shit.
Previously seen in last week's Ghost Dog: The Way of the Samurai.
That's crazy. Wow. Small world.
Loved the movies. Oh, he was Handsome Frank. I just looked it up. He was Handsome
Oh,
Frank.
shit. I didn't even clock that guy as
Yeah.
Handsome Frank. Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the cops too. I like when Barton Fink drops the like trivia fact about how this serial killer is like a fan of this one actor in these wrestling movies or whatever. And the the cop's response is like, wow, Fink, that's like the least helpful thing you could have told us. And then the other one's like, notice how I'm not writing it down?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, wrestling movies.
Uh-huh.
Was that a thing? Or,
I would think so.
or did the Coens just make up a fake genre? Like it kind of feels, as someone who is mostly ignorant of 1930s, early 1940s Hollywood.
Well, they were doing boxing pictures, certainly.
That's true. Yeah.
The kind of classic noir setup of the boxer that's supposed to throw the fight and
Right.
doesn't. That was definitely a tried and true trope of the era.
Yeah.
I suppose. I like all the fake wrestling movie names that they start throwing around.
Yeah.
Where there's one that's like, Blood, Sweat, and Canvas, or like The Devil on the Canvas is the one that he watches.
Yeah.
I think the name of Barton Fink's script is like The Burly Man.
It's The Burly Man, which I think is very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But although Wallace Beery, the guy that he's writing the movie for, like the guy who's going to star in his movie, was like a real guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I looked that up. I was like looking up facts about the movie before the record. And yeah, I learned that through Googling today that Wallace Beery was a real guy who actually was like kind of a big, burly, tough type in movies. But yeah, I just didn't know if wrestling pictures as like a genre, because they talk about it in the movie as like, these are the rules of a wrestling picture. This is how a wrestling picture is made. There's either an orphan or a dame. And I like when Barton Fink's like, both? And the studio exec guy just looks at him with so much contempt. He's like, fucking both. You don't know shit. This guy calls himself a writer. You can't have both an orphan and a dame in a wrestling picture. But yeah, it just seems so like specific and weird and like a little off kilter that I was like, this is either just a funny choice that the Coens picked this real thing where it's like this used to be kind of a movie archetype that has basically completely stopped existing.
Well, and it's also supposed to be kind of seen as like popcorn entertainment.
Right.
Whereas like Barton Fink ends up trying to write something that's more thoughtful and emotional and layered. And like that's maybe there's a couple things there. There's definitely a commentary on like just the Hollywood chewing up and spitting out young auteurs.
Totally. Yeah. Which is like big, and that's a big thing in this movie.
Right. But also how genre and our perception of art changes over time because Westerns were another big thing in the 40s. And at the time, those were pretty dime a dozen being cranked out by the studios. And like eventually they kind of gain some prestige and some complexity.
Right.
Or, crime thrillers and stuff from the 40s. There's an interesting like kind of push and pull between art as entertainment and art that has a more higher purpose than that.
Yeah.
That's kind of explored in like he's making a genre film.
Yeah.
Essentially. So like what genre can do and what storytelling can do for people.
Yeah. And I like that like Barton Fink as a guy who has come from writing for Broadway and writing like serious plays, like he's coming out of it. It is like supposed to be, because of the time that it is, where this movie takes place in 1941. He is supposed to be coming out of the like post Stanislavski American theater that like emerged in New York, that like Lee Strasberg would have been one of this guy's contemporaries. And Barton Fink is modeled on a real American playwright who's Claude Odette, who was kind of writing in around that time, and like had a similar thing happen where he like had a very successful play. He went to Hollywood and kind of had a miserable time trying to write for this more like well-oiled commercial machine.
Mm-hmm.
But it is interesting that in the movie, right, like Barton Fink is a little too fixated on like writing as like a way to say something profound. Like he's too concerned with the mission. He's approaching it too high-mindedly to get the genre. Like when he's watching the dailies of the wrestling movies to like get inspired, there's like a look of horror on his face as he's realizing he doesn't get it at all. He's like, I don't understand. Like, this is just big guys smashing into each other. And the dailies that they're showing you are like, just like the guy pinning the other guy over and over and over again. And you get the sense that it's like, he is like too far up his own ass to understand the appeal of the genre film that he has been tasked to make. And like some of it is a failing of the studio trying to force this guy to make a movie that he doesn't want to make and doesn't know the conventions of. But part of it is on him, that he like is incapable of understanding the appeal of these types of movies to somebody like Charlie Weathers, right? He's not like trying in good faith to understand why people like this stuff. He thinks that he can just like improve upon it without understanding the foundation.
Yeah, I don't know that I interpreted that moment. I don't know that I interpreted that moment the same way that you did.
Yeah.
Partially because over that shot, that zoom in on John Turturro's face, over that we hear the sound of the waves.
Right.
And the waves crashing against the rock on the beach, that's a motif that the Coens return to throughout this movie. Shows up at the very end with the final scene on the beach. But the way that sound is deployed earlier in the movie seems to kind of suggest it's like the moments of creative inspiration. There's this long push in on the prop, on the typewriter prop.
Yeah.
And I it's so close and detailed that I'm assuming they built a giant typewriter for this.
Yeah.
I didn't look it up, but I'm sure that's what they did. And then, it gets closer and closer and closer, and the waves are rushing, and then boom, he's interrupted by John Goodman knocking on the door.
Right.
And that happens a couple of times in the movie. So I sort of saw it as a moment where his inspiration is striking him.
Oh, where he is getting it.
Right. But maybe it is him figuring out a way to improve upon something that he views as low art.
Yeah.
Something, beneath him.
Yeah. And like either way, that is interesting, by the way, about the waves crashing thing. I don't think I clocked that, but now, like in retrospect, I think you are right. I think the movie returning to that is kind of the moments where it is like things are starting to click for him.
And I mean, it's intentionally, I think, ambiguous, and you can interpret it many different ways. But that's one of the ways that the Coens use it in the movie.
Yeah, I do think you're right about that. But regardless of like what that scene in isolation like means, the overarching thing with him is, yes, that he is chronically incapable of viewing like the genre of film that he has been asked to make as anything other than like low art, right? Like he thinks that he has to improve upon the formula that they're telling him to adhere to. And I'm not saying that like he's wrong necessarily, but his attitude is bad. You know?
Well,
like
because he views art as a way to exercise suffering and pain.
right.
I definitely think that is partially, that's partially true about the creative process, but he doesn't seem to find the enjoyment in the creative process itself. He's so worked up in whatever's going on in his mind, whatever's preoccupying him, that he is unable to create. And it's only until he's like suffered enough and gone through it that he's able to write something. And by the time he finishes it, it's like it doesn't even matter at that point.
Yeah, and I do think that there are a couple of moments when he finishes the screenplay, when he like gets through the writer's block, that really stuck out to me as the movie sort of not it, like, because there is the big scene with Michael Lerner where the movie denies him his triumph in a big way.
Yeah.
But there's a couple scenes that forecast that. One of them is when he finishes the screenplay, the last lines of his screenplay that he's immediately like, this is my masterpiece, this is the greatest thing I've ever done, are almost the exact same as the last lines of his Broadway play that we see at the beginning of the movie. There's like the line about he'll send us a postcard or whatever, that is like in the play that he wrote at the beginning of the movie. So it's like, it sort of is leading you as the audience to be like, this guy's a hack. He wrote the same thing twice.
Yeah.
And he thinks that it's like his masterpiece. It's like, you fucking wrote the same thing. You wrote the exact same thing you wrote before. But then also when he's at the USO dance and he's dancing with the girl and the Navy guys come up and they're like, hey, buddy, we're about to ship out to like fight World War II against the Nazis.
Yeah. Did you hear World War II started yesterday?
Right. And he's like, don't you people understand? I'm a creator. My uniform is up here. Right. And it's like, he is being like the most annoying little fucking, incel. Pretentious, like dork ass piece of shit. Like he is being like a nerd that you want to give a wedgie. And like, this is the guy who has just like written his masterpiece or whatever. And like, this is all just ego. It's an exercise in ego for him. It's just, he wanted to prove to himself that he was great, right? And so he's like, I'm going to voluntarily put myself through a bunch of suffering to write this screenplay. And the way that I will know that it is great is not the contents of the screenplay itself. It is how much suffering I endured to make it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it, he's like, everyone should bow to me. I'm a creative genius. Right? And then Michael Lerner's like, this is fucking dog shit. Like, we can't do anything with this. Right? And it's like, whether the screenplay is good or not is not the point. The point of it is that he has an unhealthy relationship to the creative process. Like, this is like not how an artist should be.
Yeah, and like, to be fair, I think the movie's also pretty clear that like Michael Lerner's relationship to the creative process as a studio executive is not healthy.
Is also
either.
wrong. Yeah. And it is interesting because it's like, on the one hand, it feels like it's like totally ego driven on Barton Fink's part, and then on the Michael Lerner side of things, it's like totally financially driven. Like it's like it's all about the money, and for neither of them is it about the art, right? Because for Barton Fink, it's about his own importance, and for Michael Lerner, it's about the bottom line. And what we're missing is like, how about giving a shit about the story we're telling? Which is sort of what John Goodman's point is at the end when he's talking to Barton Fink and he's like, you don't listen, right? It's like you already decided the story that you wanted to tell before you set out to tell it, and you didn't let the people whose story you're telling like have a voice. But like Michael Lerner at the end, again, when he's wearing the fake army uniform that he had wardrobe make, right? It's like, yeah, it's totally just about optics for him too. Like Barton Fink wants to be viewed as a genius. This guy wants to be viewed as a war hero. And they're both just like small men playing pretend, right? And John Goodman is the real deal for better and worse, which I think is maybe the thing with his character.
Yeah, it's sort of fucked up that a criminal, a serial killer who is symbolically represents the devil at the end, and is also canonically a Nazi.
He does say Heil Hitler, which is a wild moment of this movie.
Did not expect those two words to come out of his mouth.
It is somehow the craziest part of that scene, because the way the scene shakes out is like the cops have showed up and told Barton Fink, hey, that guy who was living next to you, his name isn't Charlie Meadows, it's Carl Munt. He is a serial killer who cuts people's heads off. Then John Goodman shows back up. Carl Munt is at the end of the hallway. The cops are like, the jig's up, Munt, surrender. Drop the policy briefcase, which I think is funny. John Goodman produces a shotgun out of the briefcase, blows one of these guys away. The hotel hallway erupts in hellfire. He screams running down the hallway, shoots the other guy in the leg, puts the shotgun to his head, and somehow the craziest thing that happens in the scene is still when he says Heil Hitler.
Yeah, it's it's fucked up that guy is right about Barton Fink.
Yes.
He has the most salient point about Barton Fink in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Also, I kind of wish we saw those head chunks.
Me too. The one thing that I think could make that sequence better, which I think is a phenomenal sequence. I think the hallway is incredible. The only note I have is that if we had a Tom Savini maniac head explosion when Carl Munt blows that cop away, that would improve the sequence marginally. But yeah, like ultimately Carl Munt is right about Barton Fink, and I think that doesn't make him good or sympathetic. It just means that sometimes shitty people have a read on other shitty people. And like I think it's interesting because like you can read this movie many ways. The Coens say that they didn't really intend any like actual like World War II allegory about like the rise of fascism in this movie. I don't know how true that is, but that's what they've said, that they didn't intend that stuff. But I think it's really interesting that the guy who is the common man that Barton Fink is trying to speak for is, by the end of the movie, canonically a guy who like thinks that Barton Fink shouldn't exist, right? Because he's a Nazi and Barton Fink is Jewish, right? And so by the end of the movie, it's like this guy is like on the side of exterminating everyone who is like you, and you still kind of think that you're friends, right? The relationship between the high-minded creative and the common man sort of landing there at the end of the movie, it does also it kind of feels like, well, yeah, there's like half of the country voted for like this fucking administration that we currently have, and there is just that stuff in there too about how like, yeah, how many people who go see like fucking Disney movies and shit believe like reprehensible shit. They're like pro-ICE and like anti-immigration and shit.
But yeah, how many people
like,
how many people voted and support an administration that is actively working against them?
Yes.
That is working towards their own suffering.
Yes.
And that's sort of like, and I think that also applies to Michael Lerner's character at the end of the movie with Barton Fink being like, turning on a dime after he reads the script and, being like, you're a hack, you're talentless. I'm basically going to enslave you. Like, I'm going to keep you here writing scripts for me until you make something that's good and you have no say in it.
Yes. The line is like, it's such a powerful sentence that he lays down when he's like, everything that comes out of your head is the property of Capitol Pictures, and Capitol Pictures is not going to produce a single thing that you write.
Yeah.
Right? It's like everything you write belongs to us and none of it is going to get made.
You're working for someone who actively despises you
Yes.
and hates everything that you do.
Yes, right. Yeah, and and it's the same thing as like people like voting against their own interests and voting people into power who like have contempt for them, right? And it's like and again it like goes up the chain the entire way. Like Barton Fink has contempt and condescension for Charlie, right? But then like the level up the ladder from him also has contempt for him as well. Like the Tony Shalhoub character is like outwardly extremely vitriolic to Barton, and it's like that guy's only one level on the ladder above you. He is still beholden to the studio execs. He's just a producer, but like he is punching down at the writer as much as possible.
There's even a line I think in the first scene with Michael Lerner where he's talking about John Polito's character, the like assistant.
Yeah.
Where it's like he used to be something to the effect of like he used to be a big shot and then something happened and now we just sort of keep him around.
Yeah.
Don't talk to him about it, you know.
So
it's like that guy, and then, when he of course turns on him.
I love that scene where he fires him and because Barton Fink just pulls a lie out of his ass, right? He's like sitting there because he's on deadline. He has a dead woman in his fucking hotel room, and he has showed up with nothing on the day that he's supposed to give the big movie pitch. And Michael Lerner's like, okay, what do you got? And he's like, well, I don't like to talk about works in progress. I would rather keep it, I'd rather keep it to myself until it's done. And John Polito's like, no, motherfucker, everything in your head is property of Capitol Pictures. You have to tell us. And Michael Lerner is like, how dare you talk to an artist that way? Can't you see this is part of his process?
Yeah. Well,
Get the fuck out of here.
He drops a hard K.
Yes.
And you think it's directed at Barton Fink, but it is directed at John Polito.
Yeah. No, he doesn't give the hard K to Barton Fink until the end when Barton has displeased him. But yeah.
But it is just another like, this lackey that I'm gonna keep you around and make you do my bidding.
Yeah. Also just some grade A fat guy screaming in this movie in general, both from Goodman as well, but especially from Michael Lerner in that scene where he fires John Polito. Just red-faced, sweaty, like spittle flying fat guy screaming. It's awesome. He's in his it's the pool scene, so he's in his like swim trunks there too. And I love seeing this guy's big round belly with the swim trunks halfway up it.
Yeah.
Like above the belly button. It's a great look.
Yeah.
And he's like way too tan too. And he's got like white chest hair that's like so starkly contrasted against his like very, very orange
He's just
tan.
he's just an angry scrotum.
Yeah. It's great.
It's great. A lot of great guys with faces movie. Great fat guy movie.
Yeah.
Great sweaty movie.
I will say
the Coens have kind of perfected the art of the sweaty film.
That's
with
true.
This and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah. No Country is also sweaty. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, at one point there's the point in No Country where Woody Harrelson's walking up the stairs dabbing the sweat from his brow. Very iconic shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sweaty hotel rooms in that movie.
Fargo, in some ways, the opposite of a sweaty movie.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. But everybody's pits are bone dry in Fargo.
Yeah. Although I've been
no perspiration to be found.
I've been sweaty in the cold.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. It's so annoying to have like 3 layers of clothes on and there's a foot of snow on the ground and be like, oh, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
I hate that. I think I'm just a sweaty boy.
I bet the sweatiest scene in Fargo is when Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare are having sex in the same hotel room next to each other.
Yeah.
Probably some sweat going on in that scene.
That's an insane scene.
I love that scene. It's so funny. I like in this scene, speaking of sex scenes in Coen Brothers movies, I like in this movie when Barton Fink gets laid and then we go down the drain. We it like zooms into the sink while sex moans are happening. Like the audio is still him laying pipe, and then we just like go down. We go into the pipes.
We go down the pipe.
Yeah.
I guess that
Good
was the Coens and Deakins, this is their first collaboration together, and apparently they hit it off really, really well.
Right.
And like from their first meeting through this whole production, had a really great working relationship, obviously, because they've continued to work together. But Deakins brought that up as like a running gag on set, being like, when they would ask him to do something weird, he was like, all right, as long as I don't have to shoot down any drain pipes anymore.
Yeah. That's one of a couple shots that are a little Lynchy to me as well. We talked about him a little bit already.
Yeah, there's a... I was thinking of David Lynch while watching this movie a little bit.
It's maybe the Lynchiest Coen movie I've seen. But the one that the moment that really got me, and it's a Lynchy image, but it's used differently than Lynch would have, which is when Barton is like staring at the wall trying to write, and you get the shot of Turturro with his like arms on his head, and for that shot is really, to me, really Coen-y, where it's like the zoom in on Turturro with his hands up, just like trying to think of something to write, and the wallpaper behind him. But as you zoom in, it stops looking like he's sitting up in a chair, and it starts looking like he's kind of floating in space in front of the background, kind of. And then you get the reverse shot of just the wall. And it's like you just zoom like way in on the plaster of the wall. And that shot, to me, I was like, is
like, that the one that then fades into a close-up of the screenplay pages?
I think so, yeah. And that was a shot where I was like, I could see Lynch using this shot, but he would have used it differently. Like, it kind of feels like similar visual language, but it's also like very distinct from just like that style, you know?
Yeah, I think the Lynchian elements of this movie, partially it's like dealing with Hollywood and the Hollywood studio system,
right?
And what it's like to be a creator in that space, in the same way that something like Mulholland Drive,
yes,
or Inland Empire,
our friend and past guest Valerie Moffat did in her Letterboxd review call this Mulholland Drive for the boys, which I think is not wrong.
I would also argue that
right.
Mulholland Drive is Mulholland Drive for the boys.
That's
too.
true. I would agree with that.
You know, these movies all feel like they're coming from a similarly personal place.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, this is early on in the Coens' career. And I guess this kind of came about while they were working on Miller's Crossing and ran into some problems with writing the script. So they just like took a break and wrote this instead.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of writer's block, and that's what came out of it. But
yeah.
It does feel like it's informed maybe by their experiences working with the Hollywood studio system as young directors. But the other kind of Lynchian elements of this movie are the way that it deals with ambiguity and ambiguous symbols.
Yeah.
Lynch leans into the surrealism of that stuff more than the Coens do, but the Coens still find a way to create scenarios that exist within reality but feel surreal, or feel at least a little fantastical.
Yeah, I mean, there's the moment that is like so shocking in this movie, at least it was for me, when he's been dealing with the mosquito. Like, he keeps showing up to the meetings and he's got mosquito bites on his face and people are like pointing it out. And then he sleeps with the secretary of the Faulkner stand-in guy. And she's laying in bed next to him, is right after the drain shot, and he sees the mosquito on her and swats the mosquito. There's like the extreme close-up of the mosquito starting to suck her blood, and he swats it, and there's the big like blood splash from the swatted mosquito on his hand and on her, and she does not respond to being slapped. And you as the viewer are like, okay, this is weird. It's weird she didn't wake up. And then she just starts leaking a bunch of blood. and that moment is like so surreal and so crazy. And then it's also insane that the movie continues to treat everything after that moment as reality. Like, the surreal shit is happening, but in the world of the movie, like, Barton Fink is reacting to all of it rationally. He's like, oh fuck, like, what's wrong with her? Is she dead? I need help. And he like goes and gets Charlie, And like and even like when he is like later in the movie when things have gone really insane, where like the fiery hallway sequence happens, and then Charlie/Carl, one of the last things he says to Barton, because Barton like sent him to his folks' place in New York for some hospitality or whatever. He's like, oh, by the way, like I met your family in New York. They were great, like very nice people or whatever. And then like in the next scene, Turturro is like on the phone trying to get a hold of them because he's like, a serial killer just visited my family. Their heads might be in boxes. So it's like he is still, even though everything that is happening around him seems insane and outlandish and dreamlike, he's still responding to it in a rational way, which is one of the things I love about when the Coens kind of dip into surrealism, is the characters don't accept surrealism the same way that characters in Lynch movies sometimes do.
Yeah.
They're like, what the surreal shit is happening? This is insane.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the whole kind of thesis of like of Frances McDormand's monologue at the end of Fargo.
Right.
Where it was like, you did all this over money? Are you crazy?
Yeah. Well, and that's also like the Tommy Lee Jones in No Country thing, where he's just like, people don't behave in a way that I understand anymore.
Yeah.
Like the world is crazy. And I also think that that's another thing that this movie is like, other than the obvious like themes about the creative process that are in this movie. The other thing that I kind of took away as the big theme of this movie, like the big overarching theme of this movie, is just life is absurd. It is like life is absurd and inscrutable, and the only way to reckon with life is to live it, not to try to bottle it, which is sometimes what the creative process is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like life can only be understood through experience, not through art, right? And art is valuable, but ultimately the only way that you're going to understand the life of the common man is by being a common man.
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to comment on. I think the movie does sort of explore like the futility of creating art to bring attention to social injustices or people's struggles. With, you know, how kind of empty and hollow Barton Fink's expression is, his diatribes about trying to capture the experience of the common man, how empty that really feels. And it's like, well, what are you actually doing for them? You're not helping anyone actually out of this experience, you know?
Right.
With his, like, I think he's talking about that at the beginning with the at the dinner after the play, when he's talking about the experience of the fishmongers and
yes,
trying to help them, and it's sort of exploring the pointlessness of creating art in the face of injustice.
Yeah.
Going back to Lynch, I wanted to and the absurdity of things, I wanted to comment on how this movie kind of achieves a similar, like, absurd, strange, wonderful beauty in those surreal moments. Like the hotel fire is such a good moment of this movie, because it managed, at least for me, it managed to do that. Where on the one hand, it's like strange and exciting, kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah. It's like funny and scary and crazy.
Yeah. And then Goodman's character kind of having this heart to heart with Barton Fink, and then it ending with him being like, if you need anything, I'll be next door. And he gets up and walks into the burning hallway and walks into his room next door. And even how Barton Fink just kind of leaves.
Yes, he just walks out of this building that is like crumbling around. It's like turning to ash.
He just walks out with his screenplay and what is presumably his the head of the woman who he slept with.
Yeah.
The only things that he has in his world. He leaves his typewriter.
Yeah.
These are the only things that he has in the world.
Yes.
And there was something about that I found strangely profound and beautiful.
Yes, I felt the same way about the final shot of the movie, which is the woman becoming the painting from his room. And it, like I already said, that image can mean something, or it can be a joke about how the image means nothing. But regardless, the way that Roger Deakins shoots that image is very like moving and beautiful. And I think that that's also part of the point of ending on that image is it's like, does it mean something? Does it not mean anything? I don't know, but it's beautiful to look at. Right. I also I love that exchange that he has with her at the end where she says it's beautiful. It's like a beautiful day or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he says what? Because he doesn't actually hear what she says because he doesn't listen. And she says, I said it's beautiful.
So, be fair, the ocean's really loud.
Yeah.
It is really loud.
It is, yeah. But then he's like, yeah. And then he's like, you're very beautiful. Are you in pictures? And she's like, don't be silly. Which I think is just like such a fun note for them to end on, where it's like, she doesn't, this thing that he has made his, that he has destroyed himself over. And then he's talking to her about it, and she's like, absolutely not. Like, what are you talking about? Am I in pictures?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of idiot would go into that business? Yeah. Verdict time? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Anything else we should...
Let's see. I don't know. I feel like I talked about Tony Shalhoub already, but I also feel like I haven't talked about him enough. I love him flying off the handle in this movie. Him just like, again, like lots of people are red-faced and screaming in this movie. I love when Tony Shalhoub's doing it, though. He's very funny.
I like when Barton Fink and the writer and Audrey are having lunch, and then the writer gets pissed off and starts drinking and just starts walking away and just walks into the street just yelling his head off.
Yes, and he's singing Old Black Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
He starts pissing. Like he like walks a little bit away.
He pisses, and then slaps Audrey with the hand he was holding his dick to piss with.
That is true.
That's fucked up.
He does slap her with his pissing hand. And I like Barton Fink being like, you can't allow him to treat you that way. And she's like, you don't understand anything about us. Yeah. Yes, I like him saying he's going to walk until he gets to the Pacific and then he'll improvise from there.
Yeah. Judy Davis as Audrey Taylor.
Yes.
I was not familiar with this actress before this movie. Great performance, and I love that she's like, there's like honesty and truth to her character, and she's also kind of vamping it up and playing the like old Hollywood starlet thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I really like her performance too. She kind of like Goodman is sort of like inscrutable, where you're like, I can't really get a read on her. And the reveal that she has written, because he idolizes Mayhew, and the other writer so much. And like when they first meet in the bathroom, which is also a hilarious scene because Mayhew is puking his guts out. Making truly some of the most horrifying noises you've ever heard. And then he comes out of the stall and Barton Fink's like, hold on, wait, I love your writing. You're like one of the best American novelists. But when it's revealed that Audrey has actually written like all of his like most famous work or whatever, and Barton like gets incensed because he's like, wait, hold on, I have been holding this guy, this fucking asshole, this like alcoholic shithead in such high esteem because I liked what he had created. And now you're telling me that was actually you? And I idolized this guy for no fucking reason? Or at least that's how I read that moment, right? Where he's wait, hold on. Like, you're telling me that this guy has no redeeming qualities and that you've been the genius the whole time. And I think the thing that infuriates him is that she's not taking credit for it because he can't fathom that, right? Because like he's so ego driven that it's like, wait, you wrote all that phenomenal stuff and you let somebody else put their name on it?
He also really just wants to fuck her too.
He really does.
He's trying to support her.
Yeah.
So he can bang her.
Yeah.
Bang her to death.
That's right.
With his big dick.
Yes. With the seven sword penis.
Barton and his Fink.
Yes.
His big old Fink.
You know what I couldn't help myself from thinking during this movie? Misa Barton Fink. Just because it kind of sounds like Jar Jar Binks.
Oh.
Misa Barton Fink. Misa writer the screenplay.
But I mean, but Jar Jar is a black stereotype, not a Jewish stereotype.
That's
it would
true.
really, it would probably be like, Barton Fink,
Oh no, we can't do Watto on the Barton Fink episode.
you brought
No,
me
we're
this
gonna-
screenplay, and I think it's shit.
David, we're gonna get canceled.
You provide the screenplay. I provide Wallace Beery. We've split the winnings.
You write for me. I keep you as a slave.
Oh man, I
Um,
think we're in trouble.
I haven't busted out the Nemoidians yet.
Yeah. Misa Barton Fink. Misa have a woman's head in a box. Oh, muy. Oh, no. That sounded kind of like Mario.
Yeah, Justice
yeah.
is Barton Fink, the greatest movie ever made.
David. Short episode. Probably could have talked about Barton Fink more, but we got fucking shit to do and places to be. So I'll keep this pretty short. First time with Barton Fink for me, and I was very glad that I got around to this one. It has made me want to revisit some of the Coen movies that I haven't seen as many times. Like, I've only seen it Inside Llewyn Davis once, and watching this movie makes me want to watch that movie again. It also makes me want to check out some of the Coen brothers movies that I have not yet seen. And on its own merits, this, I think, is a phenomenal movie when taken into context with the rest of their filmography that I have seen. I think it becomes even more interesting. I think it's packed full of great performances. I think it's really well written. It is it's such a dense text that you could just like parse and read in a million ways forever. And also it's a joke about analyzing stuff that much. And it's funny and it's scary and it's weird. And I loved it. And I would say that, like, upon first watch of this one, it's probably in the higher echelon of Coen's for me. Like, I would say that after watching this, I would have to rewatch some of their movies again to feel like solid about this. But I kind of think maybe Barton Fink is like my third favorite Coen's film after this first viewing. And I think it's the greatest movie ever made. I had a ball with this one, and it looks fucking great. Roger Deakins shot the shit out of this movie. There's some great like film grain. It has like a nice scuzziness to it that I think fits the kind of rancid vibe of this movie. Yeah, really excellent movie, and I loved it. David, is Barton Fink the greatest movie ever made?
I have similar thoughts to you. I'm glad that we watched this. It's one that I have. I think I get this one mixed up with Hudsucker Proxy, which is another Coen's that I haven't seen.
That's the hula hoop one.
Came around the
That's
same
what
time.
I know about that.
Yeah. It was like that's a Coen Brothers movie I probably don't need to watch. But I'm glad to be proven wrong because I really like this movie, and I think it's one of my favorite Coen films. But I need to revisit a lot of their movies, just like you. So I suppose, like, as of like the numerical rating that I would give this movie, it is my third favorite Coen Brothers movie. But like, I don't know, they make really fucking good movies, and there's a lot of good ones, and I've seen a lot of them, but there's more that I need to see, and I need to rewatch some of those ones that I haven't seen in a while. So, I don't know. I think this movie's really funny in the Coen Brothers' own way and their particular brand of humor, and their offbeat sensibilities. I think it's a great performance from Turturro. Maybe his best performance. I would struggle to think of a performance from him that's better than this.
Yeah, completely agree. I think he's fantastic.
And the rest of this cast is great as well. And there's tons of strange-looking, weird fat guys in this movie, so I'm having a good time. I think it's really like wonderfully dense and layered, and there are so many different things that you can pull out of it. But I do think I need some time to sit with this a little bit more. I'm looking forward to rewatching it, but more importantly, I'm looking forward to rewatching it after I've had some time to sit and think about it more.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is the greatest movie ever made, but it is one of the best movies that we've talked about on the podcast in recent memory.
Yeah.
All the same.
Yeah, and it's sort of getting what is sort of becoming the classic David incomplete verdict, where it's like, it is a no.
It's my cop out.
Yeah, it is a no, but it's like a no with an asterisk, like might be a yes, but you need to marinate on it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is fair. I think that's fair. I think there's a lot to marinate on in this movie.
Yeah, and I think they make movies that benefit from close viewing and benefit from repeated viewing. So like,
Yeah.
I'm sure if I came back to this, I would have even more things to say about it.
Yeah.
But I have somewhere to be, so I can't say much more about it. Other than thanks for listening. We love you guys. Follow us at TGMEM_podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe you can hear the cat meowing in the background. That's very cute.
Yes. Before we rush out of here, David, do you have any idea what we're watching next week? I picked this one.
I have one.
Okay.
If you'll indulge me.
I will. I think we're coming up on a theme month for you two, so you might end up picking next week's movie and then us doing a theme month.
Yeah, I'm not sure when we'll do the theme month.
We'll see.
But
Yeah.
This next movie, I was inspired by you picking the Coen brothers, actually, because you mentioned, like, we've been, the Coens were big names that we hadn't talked about yet.
Yeah.
And I have a movie from a big name that we haven't talked about yet. This is an actor with, over 150 credits.
Okay.
But has rarely held the top billing in his movies.
Okay.
He's normally a side player.
Has not appeared in any of our previous episodes?
Yes, you're correct. This actor has not appeared in any of our previous episodes.
Wow.
And I think it is high time that we talk about the one, the only, Mr. John Leguizamo.
Oh, fuck. Johnny Legs?
With his 1997 film directed by Paul Miller entitled The Pest.
Uh-oh. I don't know if I'm gonna like this.
I don't know either.
I have only heard things about this movie that make me think it's gonna be rough. But who knows? Maybe, you know what? Maybe we're just a couple of pest heads.
I have no idea why I picked this. I really don't. It was this or A Bronx Tale. Because you had watched Heat. I had been watching The Sopranos, and I was like, we should do like a gangster movie. I'm in the mood. I haven't seen Bronx Tale before. Gives us a chance to talk about De Niro. Yeah. But then I was like, but The Pest?
But then we could watch
instead. John Leguizamo in The Pest. So that's what we'll be doing next week.
Tune in next week to hear David and I talk about The Pest.
For some reason.
Well, Barton Fink, a little bit of a pest himself in a lot of ways. So, maybe it's just, maybe we're doing a twofer on annoying little freaks.
I feel like John Turturro and John Leguizamo are kind of similar type of guys.
Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Play weird, annoying little freaks.
Probably that's where it came from, but we'll get a chance to talk about that next week.
Cool. So join us next week for that movie.
In the meantime, we love you guys so much. Be good to each other. And as always, later, dipshits.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Greatest Movie Ever Made. Please remember to leave us a rating and a review, and to subscribe to the show wherever you listen. We appreciate you supporting the show and spreading the word. Tell your friends to listen, tell your enemies to listen, tell your mom to listen. If your neighbor has an unsecured Bluetooth speaker, connect to it and play an episode. You can follow us on social media at TGMEM_podcast. And if you've got a movie that you want us to talk about, send us an email at thegreatestmoviepodcast@gmail.com.